How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Fourth and Long podcast with your host, Alec Pequignot. Today's show is a loaded one. You get my top 10 hot takes for the college football season, as well as my top 5 things I would do to alter/fix college football. You also get You get my top 3 replacements for Billy Napier at Florida once he gets fired. And you also get I'm going to tell you what my plans are for the college football season and tell you a little sneak peek about my trip to Virginia Tech in September. Let's get started, though, with my hot takes. So my number 10 hot take is that I think South Florida will be the group of 5 team that is represented in the college football playoff. And here's why. I've looked at their schedule numerous times, and I think there is some very winnable games on their schedule. I'm not saying they're going to beat Alabama, but if they do, that would be their biggest win of the season, and it would be one of the best ones they've had in program history. They almost beat Alabama last year, and I think that they could beat Alabama this year, so that would be a big win. And then I think they win. I think they might only lose 1 or 2 conference games. And the losses might be to Memphis and Tulane. But I think they beat everybody else in the American Athletic Conference. My number 9 hot take, and I'm going to say this one's piping hot. It is DJ Lagway takes over as the starting quarterback at Florida in week number 6. I'm sorry, Florida Gator fans, but I don't get all this hype around Graham Mertz. I'm a Big Ten guy, and I've seen Graham Mertz. He was decent at Wisconsin. He was okay last year at Florida. I don't get where this hype for this year's coming from. I think it's either going to be week 5 or week 6 that Florida decides, Graham Mertz is not really helping us win games. Let's see what kind of potential DJ Lagway has as our QB1. My number 7 hot take is that Penn State only loses 2 games this year. And those 2 games will be, one will be to Ohio State, even though I think it's at Penn State this year. And just a heads up, I will be doing the Ohio State-Penn State game as a play-by-play when that game happens. And I think Penn State's other loss will be to USC. And that might signify... Oh, wait, I missed hot take number 8. And it's a spicy hot take, and that is that I have Virginia Tech winning the ACC. Yep, I'm on the Virginia Tech bandwagon, and it's not just because I'm going there in September. I've looked at their schedule, and I've looked at their roster. They've got a lot of returning guys coming back, and I have high expectations for Virginia Tech this year. And I think Virginia Tech should probably win the ACC with a 12-2 record. Now back to Penn State at number 7. My number 7 hot take was Penn State only losing 2 games. This is a 2-sided hot take. I could see them losing 2 games, or I could only see them losing 1. and that one game they lose is to Ohio State. Because I could see them going, I believe they go to USC and they play at USC. And I could see them beating USC at USC and then losing at home to Ohio State. My number 5 hot take, and this to me, this is a lukewarm hot take. It is the ACC gets 3 teams in the playoff, and I'm going to name them right now. I think Florida State gets in, I think Clemson gets in, and I think Virginia Tech gets in. And I'm going to tell you why. I think so. Virginia Tech's obviously going to win the ACC. I think second place is going to be Florida State because I like what they've done in the portal this year, and I think that Virginia Tech, I think Florida State will finish second, and then third is going to be Clemson. But I think their records, I think they're all going to have the same conference record because they're going to lose to somebody. They're going to have 1 or 2 conference losses, and it's going to be to teams that are below them in the conference. My number 4 hot take, and this one is burning hot. It is Colorado's going to win 8 games this year. Yes, I know I may sound a little crazy for having Colorado on here as a hot take to win 8 games. I think what Deion's done in the portal and recruiting-wise, getting a 5-star, revamping that offensive line, hopefully it works. I really hope it works. I don't know if it will, but I can see Deion and Colorado winning 8 games this year. My number 3 hot take, and no, I know this might not sit well with some Big Ten fans. I think the SEC could get 4 or 5 teams in the playoff. And that list, there's a lot of ways this could go. It could be Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's probably going to be the number 1 team. Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee. So that's 5 right there. I think those 5 teams, or 4 out of those 5 teams, could take up a spot in the playoff. My number 2 hot take, and I'm sorry, Michigan fans. I'm dearly sorry for this. I don't think Michigan is making the playoff this year, and I'm going to explain why. And this is my number 2 hot take. I don't think Michigan is making the playoff. 1, because, and I'd like to know y'all's opinion down in the comment section on your hot takes, or if you think I missed with a couple of my hot takes. But I think Michigan's going to miss the playoff this year. 1, because they're in like a I don't want to say they're in a rebuild. It's more of a transition period because they just went from Harbaugh as head coach to now Sharon Moore, and they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Don't get me wrong, their defense is going to be really good. It might be one of the top 15 defenses in college football this year. And I say might because they did lose Mike McDonald to the Seattle Seahawks. And my number 1 hot take is Ohio State wins the Big Ten and the national championship. And this one is an easy explanation for me. It's called, if you look at everybody says they have a cupcake schedule. I don't want to hear it. They do play Western Michigan. They do play Marshall. They do have in Akron. In the Akron game, they're a 50.5 point favorite. Now, do I think they cover that week 1? Probably not. But you never know. They might. But the other reason I think they're going to win the Big Ten in the national championship is because look at their roster. They got a lot of good transfers. They got Will Howard from Kansas State. They got Quinshaw Judkins from Ole Miss. Scott McLaughlin from Alabama. Caleb Downs from Alabama. And then you had Denzel Burke. And Denzel Burke come back. You had Emeka Egbuka come back. You have Carnell Tate. You have one of the best freshmen that's going to get some playing time this year, and Jeremiah Smith came back. Travion Henderson came back. Carson Hinsman came back. You got Brandon Ennis going into his sophomore year. So, with all that talent, it's going to be a disappointment if Ohio State doesn't at least win the Big Ten and make the playoff. Now, we get to the 5 things I would do to make college football a better program to watch, a better sport to watch. And number 5 is less commercials. And I want to hear what y'all have to say. Please, if you agree with me on any of these 5 things I talk about making college football better, let me know down in the comments. So, again, starting with number 5, less commercials. We can all agree that watching a college football game, it's the best. It's awesome watching college football, but the one thing that drives us crazy is when the game's it's a really good game, and all you see every 5 minutes is commercials. And you're just like, you know what? I'm going to watch something else. There's no use in watching this game because it's commercials every 5 minutes. And it's annoying. And it just gets on my nerves because I'm a diehard college football fan. And I watch college football every Saturday. And I get tired of watching games when there's commercials every 5 minutes. Like, I understand that's how you get the different companies, how you get their branding out there. But let's try to lessen the commercials a little bit. Number 4, and this is my favorite one that I came up with. Let the fans choose who they want to hear call the games. And I think we can all agree on that. Like, if it's Ohio State, Michigan, obviously everybody's going to pick Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt because Gus Johnson's top-notch commentary. So that is number 4. Number 3, and this is another one I think most of us could agree on. Lower ticket prices. I had to pay for my ticket for Virginia Tech and Marshall this year. I had to pay $154 for it because they were low on tickets. They were almost out. And I had no idea that they were going to roll out more tickets the following week. So I had to pay $154 for a ticket. I mean, it's good seats. But I just think if you lower ticket prices, people will be more inclined to go to the games. I can understand if it's a bigger game like Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. If you want the ticket prices to be higher for those games compared to a lesser game like a South Florida and an Alabama or a Texas UTSA, for those games, okay, lower the ticket prices, but the bigger games like Georgia, Texas, or Oklahoma, Texas, you can have the ticket prices be higher. But the lesser games, lower ticket prices, so people will actually show up. Number 2, have premium seating for die-hard fans. And I think football programs need to start doing this, because there is die-hard fans that want to go to the game, but they don't want to pay a pretty penny for seating. And I'm one included. I went up to Ohio State last year and paid $102 for my ticket. And I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. And okay, that's normal, but I'd much rather pay $70-$80 for premium seating, and you get all you can eat, free food, and you get early access to go into the stadium. And my personal favorite, number 1 TV timeout per half. And I think if you see what MLB's doing, try this out, college football. 1 TV timeout per half or quarter. Per quarter. 1 TV timeout per quarter, unless it's injury related. So, and then now, here are my plans for the college football season. I will be doing a couple, I think I'm doing either between 4 and 5 play-by-play games for college football this year on my YouTube channel, with Colorado State, Colorado being 1, Ohio State, Penn State, South Florida and Florida Atlantic, Boston College, Virginia Tech, and that's it. That's all of the games I'm doing. And I'm also going to be doing live streaming when I go up to, and I'll talk about it here in a minute, but when I go on my trip to Virginia. And I am currently working on trying to get a hold. I did put a poll up a couple days ago who y'all want me to collab with. That are other college football content creators. And it sounds like y'all want me to try to collab with CF Budge. Let's mention him in the comments of this video and see if we can get him to respond back. And same with GFed. I've emailed GFed, no response. Let's mention him in the video too, so we can collab with him. So I have a Twitter, and I recommend following it because I tweet about some interesting things in the world of college football and also baseball and other sports too, like hockey, NFL. I really haven't tweeted about the NBA because I don't find time to do that. But college football is the main thing I tweet about. And I do give out upset picks on the YouTube, but I also give out bold predictions and upset picks over on the Twitter as well. And that is at Alec Pequignot YouTube. That is Alec Pequignot, which is all one word, space YouTube, and the Y in YouTube is capitalized. I highly recommend giving that a follow. And you can also, if you have any questions about college football or fantasy football or fantasy baseball, and you want to follow me on Twitter, and the DMs on Twitter are open 24/7, so you can DM me your questions on Twitter. Now, let's get to what I was going to talk about a second ago, and that is my trip to Blacksburg, Virginia, September 5th through the 9th for the Virginia Tech Marshall football game. I will be streaming. I just bought a selfie stick, so I will be streaming all 4 days. I'm in Blacksburg. You will get more. September 4th. So the day before my trip, September 4th, mark it down on your calendar. Be looking for a video around 12 o'clock. Because that is the day you will get the full list of what I'm doing in Blacksburg for those 4 days. And now on to something I didn't think I would be doing in this video, and that is giving you my 3 candidates for the Florida Gators head football coaching job. What's Billy Napier? Oh, let me circle back around to a hot take I missed, and that is 3 head coaches will be fired within the first month of the season, and that will be Billy Napier, Stan Drayton, and so Billy Napier, Stan Drayton, and Shane Beamer. Those are the 3 guys to look out for that might get fired. And I'm going to talk about Billy Napier now. I have 3 candidates to replace Billy Napier in an outside-the-box guy. The first guy is Florida State. The first guy on the list, number 3, is Alex Atkins, Florida State offensive coordinator. And I think Atkins would be perfect at Florida State. And I would like that hire a lot. Number 2 is Mike Denbrock, Notre Dame offensive coordinator. Denbrock's another one that I think would be a good hire. And number 1 is, I think he's a head coach right now at Middle, but I think he's using that to get a stepping stone to get back to getting a higher level job, and that is Derek Mason, Middle Tennessee. He's head coach at Middle Tennessee right now, but I think he's using that to get leverage for when a bigger job becomes available, and he might take that bigger job, and maybe it's Florida. And then Gator fans, this is an outside-the-box hire. Brian Hartline, Ohio State offensive coordinator. Now, I don't know if Hartline wants to leave Ohio State, because I think once Ryan Day retires, that Brian Hartline may be the next guy in line to be the head coach at Ohio State. But that'll wrap up today's episode of the 4th and Long podcast. I will see y'all tonight, hopefully, for a play-by-play of the Rays and Pirates game. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday.